It's Alistair, the curator from the Havilland Museum, back again. Now this is an interesting exhibit here. It's a very early flight simulator, and it dates its origin way back to the 1930s, when the US forces realised that there was a great need to train pilots safely on the ground as far as possible, because it was not only expensive but also quite dangerous to train very junior pilots in the air. Now around about the same time, there was a chap called Edward Link, whose family owned a company in America that made pianos and organs. And young Ed Link was part of this company, and so he was very au fait with the principles and techniques of bellows and actuators and pneumatic systems and so forth. And he realised there would be a method of using this technology to create a simulator for an aircraft on the ground, whereby whatever you did with the controls, it would actuate bellows and systems and levers and so forth, and it would cause this little miniature cockpits to move in exactly the same way as a real aircraft would. So he came up with the idea of this, and he started building these simulators. They became known as Link trainers, and they started off prior to the war in America, and they were seized upon in Britain during the war for wartime training, for training pilots and so forth in the basics of aerial flight and aerial navigation. You can teach people the basics of flying in one of these. They're also incredibly useful for teaching people how to fly using instruments alone, without any reference to the outside. You saw as we started, there's a hood that comes right across it, so you can actually sit in a completely backed off condition, and all you can see is your instruments, and that's all you've got to fly by. Now, the inputs that you make as the pilot controlling the aircraft when it's flying like this are sent down to an instructor's control table, which we're going to see now, and this drives this curious device on the tabletop, which is called a crab. Now, the control inputs that I would make flying this Link trainer goes to little wheels and actuators and motors on the crab, and it causes it to crawl across the tabletop, and it's got a pen fitted to it which traces a line on a map, and that line describes where I am flying in my Link trainer. So the instructor could set up the pupil in the Link trainer and say, right, you're taking off from this airfield, you're going to fly due south for so many miles, then you're going to turn northeast, and you're going to fly for so many minutes, then you're going to turn due west, and so forth. And by the time the training session's finished, they could look together at how the pupil had done. The instructor can also bring in little changes, like he can change the speed and direction of the wind, and thus give a bias to the control systems to simulate the pilot having to fly against a crosswind. So although it's only pumps and bellows and actuators and things like that, for its day it was an incredibly advanced, very technological piece of kit, and it saw immense service in the US, in the UK and overseas as well, and it was a very, very useful method until eventually the technology was superseded by electronics and computers, of course. This is our Link trainer, and it actually works. If you come along to the museum, you can book a flight in our Link trainer. We have instructors with us, they're generally ex-pilots themselves. They can show you exactly how to fly one of these things. You too can sit in here, take the controls of the Link trainer and fly it and see how you get on. I can tell you, having done it myself, it is not as easy as it looks. That's no reason not to stop for you not to have a go at it though. So come along, have a go when we're open, but in the meantime, stay well, stay safe, stay in touch. Come on Jeffrey, time to go.